Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Episode of Drinking Champagne, joined as always by Mr. Andrew Champagne. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm hanging in there okay. Looking forward to Friday, opening day at Santa Anita Park for their fall meet, which is, of course, capped off by the 2023 Breeders' Cup in early November. So that'll be a fun time. We're going to take you through the early pick five. I thought this was a really strange sequence, for lack of a better term, because I think there are very few horses that you can feel truly confident singling. But there are some horses, though, that I think you can feel confident playing against. So, very much looking forward to talking through that with you. I should tell everybody right at the outset, though. First of all, if you're new to the show, welcome. We really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our content here. I need to warn you in advance, though, this is not going to be the most controversial horse racing content that goes out into the content sphere at any point this week. So if you're expecting us to top some of the things that have been out there earlier this week, sorry, this isn't the show for you.
It would be very hard, I think, to top a lot of the stuff swirling around this week. So, we don't have to talk about that at all. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this early pick five here. But I do have to get some personal stuff out of the way. Andrew, I am on the biggest losing streak in League of Legends I've ever had in my
Oh,
entire
no.
life.
Oh, no. That's the worst.
Andrew, I think I've lost like 13 or 14 games in a row. It's affecting my mental state. I've already decided, and for people who don't know, we generally record this pretty late Andrew's time. So for my time, being Central Time is even later. I've already told myself that I'm not going to bed until I win a game. It's
So
been
you
two
might not
weeks.
sleep until about like Tuesday morning.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since I last won a game, I think. So
Oh,
this is gonna
Jesus.
be, yeah, this could get really ugly. This could get worse
Do you have the
than
Price is Right losing horn on that soundboard there?
I do.
Yeah, there you go. No, look, I don't play League of Legends, but I am reasonably familiar with League of Legends. You watch streamers that are out there that are very, very competitive people at this game, and as I understand it, its main focus is to get people to go to anger management therapy. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear about your struggles, Josh. Thoughts and prayers during this trying time. If you're getting outclassed by 8-year-old kids, maybe drop down to like the 6 and 7-year-old division.
Yeah, so funny story is we have to do at work a each team in the bigger department. Our bigger department is broken up into multiple teams. They have to give like a presentation. So usually what it is like every like 3 or 4 years, right? You do a presentation on your team because it kind of just cycles for our big like quarterly meeting. So ours is up here in coming up in October, and we're gonna do like a trivia contest, right? Like, and give away prizes to whoever can, give, who knows the most about our team. So, like, we each did one trivia question. So my trivia question was very straightforward, and it was just like, hey, it was like Josh travels multiple times a year to all across the country to follow which sport, right? And then I put different things. Obviously, answers horse racing, and then we had to put three fun facts. And the first fact had to be like what you supported. So I put the products I support at work. The second is I host a horse racing podcast. So congratulations, Andrew. You somehow made it into my work presentation. So I will go ahead
Did,
and give
did
you a
you tell
post.
them? Here's the big question. The big question. Did you tell them that your co-host picked Lord Miles at 59 to 1 in the Wood Memorial? Was that your third fun fact? Was
That
it?
was not my third fun fact. But originally, my fun fact was he likes to spend his free time being toxic playing League of Legends. And I kind of put that in as a joke, but it's really I've had just a mental boom of 2 weeks playing this game, so I had to get that out there. Maybe getting that out there in the world, maybe like not karma, maybe like just the gaming gods will let me get a win here and get back to trying to climb
This
ranks here.
gentleman
But
needs to sleep. For the love of God, let him win a game, even if the other five guys on the other team resign en masse. Just give him something to feel good about.
yeah, I just need a win in my life right now. I mean, if it's not coming from League of Legends, Andrew, maybe it's going to come from this early pick five here on Friday. Yeah, so we're recording this obviously Wednesday night. It'll be released. You're probably listening to this sometime on Thursday, or Friday morning. Opening day at Santa Anita Park. Um, let's talk. Let's talk a little housekeeping. There is a stark difference between the early and the late pick five takeout wise. So that's why we are talking about the early pick five here. It's 14% takeout. One of the lowest takeouts bets that you can play. The late is I forget what it is, but it's something criminal. It's like 23% or something.
It's
Um,
significantly bigger, but before we go much further, if we're talking about multi race exotics at Santa Anita, kudos to Santa Anita for getting rid of the 20-cent pick six. They are now going back to a more conventional pick six wager. And that sound you hear is the applause of many serious horse players that had been begging them to do this for years. So it's fantastic to see them listen. Santa Anita at its best is a cathedral of the horse racing world. It truly is. No, lots of very good people down there, lots of people that are busting their butts amidst some pretty trying times, including a bunch of people that were at Santa Anita in the winter of 2019 and got through just an absolutely terrible meet in every single facet. So good to see Santa Anita back. Hopefully, this is a fun meet. And as we mentioned, pretty fun opening day card.
I will say I do have to give them a little bit of shit. They did announce that they were going to follow in many tracks footsteps. I believe Keeneland was the first to do this in offering an all turf pick three. Unfortunately, they are keeping this at the 23.6% takeout that their traditional pick three is at. So just buyer beware. It's always important to take a look at where you're betting at, and you know, kind of much like I guess a dad talking to his son, going off to college, right? If you're gonna do something stupid, make sure you use protection. So please, if you are gonna play into these high wager or high takeout bets, please, for the love of God, make sure you're getting a rebate. You know, check out our friends at AM Wager. They give you a rebate right off the bat. You can sign up using our code below here, or there's many other places you can sign up. That just helps us out a little bit. Obviously, Never Bets offers a nice rebate. DRF Bets offers one. Express Bet. I mean, everyone does. Make sure you're getting if you're betting any kind of significant amount. Make sure you're getting taken care of. All right, off the soapbox though. Santa Anita Park, race one. We're going 6 furlongs here on the turf, 3-year-olds and up. And Andrew, I think looking at our picks, we do have one horse in common, and then we kind of split. I'm going to talk about my top choice in here first, which is the six. Give me the loot here. George Papadromo here, Juan Hernandez, on the cutback, and this was kind of more of a optics play here. I'm pulling up the optics here. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you see it. The six looks to be kind of your leader. Looks to have that bit of turn. Turn. Excuse me, turn speed. And, I just think that he's going to be one that he's got a good shot of just getting out there and just going. So he's kind of my top pick in this spot. If you kind of look back, Juan Hernandez stays aboard. the one thing that does scare me a little bit, this horse has not won in a very long time. I'm looking at the past performances. We're going back to June of last year at Golden Gate Fields, going 5 furlongs on the turf in a stakes race. Um, has kind of bounced around different barns, and is now in Mr. Papa Padromo's barn here. Um, Things look good though. 25% first off the claim, 25% first off the or third off the layoff. Juan sees fit to stay aboard in this horse, and the last two raises do look fairly competitive, and seem to really fit here. Um, I think, and I think looking at your ticket and looking at the two horses you use, my guess is it's not so much that you don't like this horse as much as you don't like the price on this horse, because this horse is the 5-2 favorite, and maybe it would be a little bit tough to trust in this spot.
So you've got Give Me the Loot on the screen on our YouTube channel here. Could you do me a favor and circle the Santa Anita record, please? That, ladies and gentlemen, is 0 for 8. As the late great Harvey Pack, one of the best to ever do it, said a lot, never bet a horse as the favorite to do something it's never done before. This horse is 0 for 8 at Santa Anita, has shown early speed, I think is significantly better going longer at Del Mar. I think we're going to see some regression off of those last couple of starts. Andy Mathis has been having a very good year. George Papapadromo claims off of that barn. It's not like George Papapadromo is a terrible trainer, and it's not like Juan Hernandez is a horrible rider. My goodness, the way he finished the Los Alamitos meet, you have to give anything he rides some respect. But I'm not a fan of this horse at any price. 5-2, 5-1. I don't much care. I'm not a huge fan of that horse. I am also not a fan, Josh, of the probable second choice, number 5, Inch, who breaks to that one's inside. Did win last time out, but this is another horse that doesn't do his best running at Santa Anita. 1 for 15 over this turf course. Ran very well in 2 starts down at Del Mar. Fourth beaten a length, won by a head against similar stock. But I see some races here, and I see a horse that just doesn't seem to have that explosive late kick that he has at Del Mar. So I'm going to bet against those two. And the two horses that I'm going to use are the bookends in this field. Number 1, Maven, is a very interesting case because, Josh, if Maven runs the race he ran either 2 or 3 back, who beats this horse?
I don't think anybody does.
And can't you draw a line through that last out race at Del Mar, given that that was this horse's first start since early April?
Yeah, and I think this is another horse kind of counter to what you were talking about. This horse has a good record here at Santa Anita. 1-1-0 in 4 starts.
That's for sure. And some of those starts have been against much better horses. This is a horse with significant back class. If the name rings a bell, Wesley Ward used to train this one and train this one to a fair amount of success. If you go way back on the page, you see a 104 Beyer speed figure. At one point in time, this was one of the better turf sprinters in Wesley Ward's barn, and he's got a lot of really good ones. He's got early speed. He's going to have to go from the rail, but I think there's every chance he leads this field from gate to wire in getting back to that 2-3 back form. If you go all the way to the outside, you see my second choice. That's number 7, Westward Look. And it's not often that you see a horse making his 27th lifetime start and doing something new. Josh, this horse has never had blinkers before. The blinkers go on for a trainer in Peter Miller that wins at a very high clip. I like the rider switch as well. This is a horse that has not won in quite a while, but blinkers on is a very powerful switch for a horse that likes to wait on others. Give me Westward Look, breaking towards the outside at a bit of a price, and also give me Maven on the rail, going against the 2 likely favorites. If we can do that, we knock out a fair amount of tickets right off the bat.
Yeah, and I also do like Maven. I have him marked as a B with a question mark, which generally means that I'm somewhere between an A and a B on that type of horse.
So like a B
Um,
plus.
yeah, so I do really like Maven, and kind of the way I go through the sequence. This was the first leg, so since I was using a short price, I wasn't going to just kind of talk myself into using a bunch of horses. So Maven's going to be on most, if not all, my tickets in here as well. I kind of see it the same way as you do. I think that getting back to Santa Anita is going to help. This is a horse that seems to run really well second off the layoff. Um, if you kind of go back to October of last year, had a similar clunker type effort, and then just came right back and ran a really nice race at Del Mar after that bad effort. So I could see the same type of thing here, where hey, maybe you're not too concerned about just the poor effort last time out, but sometimes taking a short price or singling a horse like that sometimes is tough to do. But yeah, I really like Maven in this spot. I have a little bit more belief, I think, in the six than you do. The 0 for 8 probably does scare me a little bit. But the other horse I did want to talk about here is the 4, Margot's Boy here for Antonio Garcia and Ricardo Gonzalez. And this is one of those cases where you kind of look back, look through the form. Is cutting back for the first time or going 6 furlongs for the first time in a bit. Has run this distance and this trip before, but that's going all the way back to March of 21. So you got a bit of questions here, but coming off a really really long layoff. If you look at the optics plot, this horse, I mean, just fits. I mean, you got a big old square here right in the middle of the plot. Um, so, I'll take a shot with a bit of a long price here on a long layoff. With a horse that just screams that he fits on optics, is going to be more of a B type for me here. But I think this is one I don't want to beat me, and then I look back and I'd be like, oh, I guess I should have looked at the plot, because this horse just screams that he's going to fit in here.
I got to tell you, that's not a horse I could ever come up with. And if Margot's Boy winds up winning, I will give our friend Emily as much kudos as she can possibly take. This is a horse that has not run in nearly 11 months, has not won, Josh, since 2020. I'm going to let this horse beat me.
Awesome. I look forward to this horse beating you.
Hey, you know what? If that horse winds up beating me and you hit the pick 5 for a huge score and getting a nice win streak for League of Legends, you know what? I'm going to take that. I'm going to fall on my sword for you so that you can enjoy the win you desperately need.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
No problem. That's what co hosts do. They stick by each other through thick and thin. If you know nothing else throughout this week, that's what you know.
Yeah. Speaking of co-hosts, Andrew, I had a very exciting conversation earlier today, um, and there may be a second podcast coming to the On the Wrong Lead Network.
Really?
Yeah, and so I have a co-host lined up for a space that I feel like doesn't really get a lot of talk. So I think it might be a fun little thing. We'll talk offline. I don't want to spoil too much because I have to see if this is really going to happen or if this person was just drunk when they were
Well,
messaging
hang
me.
on. I'm getting a message on my emergency line. Yes, Mark Capitan says he is in to talk about defensive bees. So you're good.
And the best part about that is like, are you talking about horses or are you actually talking about bees? Since
There
he
were a
is,
lot of bees
he
at
does, yeah,
Saratoga, man. People
yeah,
called it bee a toga for a reason.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it was Mark's fault. Maybe he brought like his hives with him or something, and that's
We
what.
just needed to make sure he caught a stray before we went
Yeah,
much further on in this
absolutely.
show.
By the way, though, he sent every couple of months he'll send me some honey, and man, it is way better than the stuff you get out of the bear. So yeah, shout out to Mark and the honey. But yeah, race 2, going 6.5 furlongs here on the dirt, and yeah, this was an interesting little race. It's only a 5 horse field, and I ended up writing down three horses. Um, Moment of honesty, I don't think I play it this way, but this is kind of a first pass, just kind of seeing how things went. Because I don't know, I have a hard time. I have a hard time using three horses in a five horse field. It just I don't know, it makes me feel gross. But Andrew, you also used three horses in this spot, so maybe this is just a tough race, and uh, maybe it's got both of us just fooled. But
It
why don't you
is.
talk to me here?
It looks like a very tough race on paper. Your 2-to-1 morning line favorite is American Lily, and she's off 161 days. That is not an insignificant layoff. It would not be shocking if American Lily is ready to go, and if she is, she probably wins. But it also wouldn't be shocking if she needs a race and this turns out to be a dump by Peter Miller of a horse that may well, on her best day, be worth more than the $50,000 price tag that she is in for. The horse on the inside is number one Poetica, who tries winners for the first time, off of a decent score last time out. But I would argue that the most impressive thing about Poetica isn't that race, it's the company that she's been keeping. Her first time out, she ran into Feza at Del Mar, and that one turned into one of the best 3-year-old fillies in the country for a stretch. Came back, ran a decent second ahead of a next out winner, and then came back to win again. Question is, do you think she's ready for the first start against winners off of a race that seemed a little underwhelming to me? Not necessarily bad, but it wasn't like it was a smashing performance. Yes, I went three deep on my ticket. I produced a caveman type ticket, but I got to tell you, Josh, depending on the value in the win pool, I may well make a significant wager on horse number 5. That's Christie's Tiger. Christie's Tiger is a consistent horse that's been around for quite a while. Makes the 33rd career start, a 6-year-old mare with 7 wins, 8 seconds. So a hard knocking type. And Josh, I think she's far better going one turn than she is going two turns. I don't think she was doing what she wanted to do last time out when she was sort of one paced, fifth beaten 3 lengths at Del Mar. Still earned a decent speed figure that day. Ramon Vasquez sees fit to ride back, and he has had a lot of success on this horse this year, has piloted her to both wins, including a really nice two-back score at Los Alamitos, where she won by 6 lengths. Unlike a couple of horses in here, she does not necessarily need the lead in order to run well, draws a great outside post and should have plenty of options, could well sit an ideal stalking trip, and she's not going to go favored. I don't think she's going to be the second choice. It wouldn't shock me if she's not the third choice. I think this could potentially be a knockout horse in these multi race exotic sequences, your doubles, pick threes, pick fours, pick fives. And Josh, the more I look at this horse, the more I like her.
Yeah, I have her written down as a B in this spot. So you know, I kind of looked at I looked at optics, I looked at the notes kind of put down here, and they kind of had that last race almost written as a prep. Now I know at this point we're going almost 2 months back here to the early August here at Del Mar. Now we're in late September, um, but I think you might be right. The notes have it marked as a prep, but maybe not so much a prep as much as like the horse tried going around 2 turns and just didn't want to do it, and they saved the horse. So yeah, this was one that definitely interested me. So I have the horse written down as a B in this spot. Um, the horse I like the most is actually the 4. She's resilient here for Steve Knapp and Mario Gutierrez. And once again, this is just kind of an optics play. This looks to be your speed in this race. This looks to be your leader. And there's just not a really, it's not going to be a contentious pace. It looks like there's not really a ton of speed here, and it looks like the 4 might just get out there, get loose, and maybe she can just carry her speed the entire way. Now, I do respect the 2 quite a bit. That was the horse that you talked about earlier, American Lily. The layoff does concern me a little bit, but if you look at the work tab, it looks like they've been working her really well. I don't know what that turf work was doing in the middle of all that, but
I don't know what the turf work was doing. I don't know what the 7 furlong work was doing in there. That's what leads me to believe that maybe this is a favorite that if you're enterprising or if you're trying to find a favorite to go against in this sequence, maybe that's the one you lean on. But Josh, I got to tell you, you keep saying that you don't think the pace is going to be that fast. Look at the opening quarters of the couple races she ran at Oaklawn. I see 21-3. I see 22-1. She's fast. And if she's not up close or on the lead, I don't think she wins. I think she goes with She's Resilient. And I'm not sure that's the trip She's Resilient wants. Now, I do think She's Resilient is a nice horse. I just can't help but wonder if maybe she's better on turf and synthetic than she is on dirt. She does have a win on dirt back in March, but that wasn't over a particularly good field. I thought she had a picture perfect trip that day, got away with walking home that last eighth of a mile. But judging by the optics plot, it certainly does look like She's Resilient is going to be up there early. And I do think she's going to be the longest price in a short field.
yep. So you have it here as 125, and I'm 245. Um, so what's the only? So the three. That means the three wins, right? Since it's the only horse we don't have covered.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking at this horse and was in decent form over the summer, but sure seems to have tailed off. I can't see anything to really recommend there, especially off of the last 3 starts. No thanks for me on essential business.
All right. Let's move on to race three. Going 6 furlongs on the turf. It's a state bred maiden, 61,000. And we kind of both like the one in this spot, Grand Tiger here for Brian Cornier and Jose Valdivia Jr. That's Belmont Stakes winning jockey Jose Valdivia Jr. I think both of us kind of saw that last effort, and you know that looks to be the best race any horse in this field has run. And I was gonna say it's not particularly close, but I think there are I think one or two horses that have run something relatively close to what that one ran last time. Looks to be the speed of the speed in this race, and maybe just gets out there and just goes. But why don't you talk to me about this five horse that you seem to like as well?
Sure. So Grand Tiger is as close as I got to a single in this particular sequence. I think Grand Tiger is your most likely winner. Draws the rail, has enough early speed to make the most of it. Ran well last time out, went second behind a very nice horse in Double Jab, who ran very well that day. And if Grand Tiger gets out early, I think he's going to prove tough to catch. Having said that, there's a horse in here that I needed to use as a pedigree play. That's number 5, Mana Rose. Mana Rose debuted in November at Del Mar. This is 10 months ago. Didn't break that day. Was last in a field of 12 going into the far turn. Did some running late. Wound up finishing 6th, beaten about 4 lengths. That's not a bad debut, especially for how slowly she got into stride. Rather, excuse me. He's been off since then, but if you look at the pedigree, you see the damn Kathleen Rose. Kathleen Rose was a very, very good turf horse, placed in multiple graded stakes races out here on the West Coast. And I see Juan Hernandez aboard for Jeff Mullins. Those are powerhouse connections. And then you look at the work tab, and Josh, doesn't it look like this horse is sitting on go? Mana Rose, I think, has a big shot if he's ready to run, and he's not going to be favored. I don't think he's going to be your second choice. I think Touchdown Kittle is going to be your second choice. I think the other A horse you have grazed is going to take some money. If this is your fourth choice, I think that's where the value is. And if Mana Rose is ready to run, I think he's got every shot against a field of horses that, to be kind, don't exactly look like world beaters.
Yeah, and to note, Stanford is off to a very very hot start here on the turf. 20% first time on the turf, 17% just overall turf side of
Yeah,
the
the only
start.
thing
So
is, offspring of Stanford aren't going to be Calbreds anymore once they go to the ACC. Thank you. Thank you very much. I needed to do that. Stanford and Cal are less than an hour from me here in a hoity toity suburb of Oakland. And all of a sudden, I'm supposed to believe they're on the Atlantic coast. Come on, people.
Um, yeah, so the Seven Grazed was another horse I liked. I think if you look on speed figures, it seems to be the second fastest horse on speed figures. I originally had this horse written down as an A, Stone Cold A, um, but the more I thought about it, the more I kind of looked. These are the types of horses that I just don't really like to bet. I mean, this is a 5-year-old maiden at this point. 0 for 7 has had, had his shots to break his maiden. And while it does look like the horse has improved, I mean, the horse is 5, right? If you kind of go back up to the one Grand Tiger, lightly raced 4-year-old, only has 3 starts and has really kind of improved in the 2 turf starts. So this is the one just looks like more of an improving type. So um, yeah, I don't know. I think using a horse like the 7 is probably not a great idea on my part. So and this is obviously me me kind of changing my handicapping and structure while we talk through this, but
Hey, that's
yeah,
why we do it. I mean,
yeah,
this is one of the things where every once in a while you notice something the more you look at the form. Sometimes that leads you astray, sometimes it provides a little bit of clarity. And I completely agree with your feeling now. Grazed is probably a very nice horse to own and train, gets checks, has gotten 3 big ones the last 3 starts, has kept the condition. Probably a fun horse to have in the barn, but not a horse you want to be holding a ticket on. If Grazed wins, will I be surprised? Not necessarily, but I can't back a horse like that at 5 to 2, 3 to 1. I just can't do it, especially when the horse that I think is live, the pedigree play, is going to be double that price, I think.
yep. And I'm pulling up the optics plot here. You have two horses that have are first time starters. I Neither of them really did much for me, so I kind of just ended up ignoring them. Um, it does look like the 1 or 7 on the plot look pretty good. Your 5 is a pretty big square there in Q4. And this is first time turf, so might be something to look at. But with these like lightly raced maidens, sometimes the plot makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. It's just like looking at the form for these races as well, right? When you have so many unknowns, sometimes it's just you're running on limited data, so it's hard to 100% make a case for anybody.
Josh, before you go too much farther, since we've got a little bit of time, you up for a little fan education?
Sure.
So, for those people out there that haven't necessarily used an optics plot or see an optics plot and don't necessarily know how to read it, can you give us a nutshelled version of the importance of circles and squares and where they are in the plot? Just something quick and easy that maybe some of our listeners and watchers can take with them.
Yeah. So um, the way basically the placement on the plot, so thinking of it horizontally and vertically, is based off of basically E1 and E2 speed, early speed and like first call and second call speed.
Sure.
The further to the left you are in the plot, the more early E1 speed you have. The further vertically you are, the more E2 speed you have, or second call speed. So generally, if you're in the top left quadrant or Q1, you're an early speed horse. If you're in the bottom right quadrant, Q4, you are generally a closer or just a plotter. Now, where the shapes come into play is the shapes show late pace. So, a big square, the bigger the square, the more late kick you have. Whereas the bigger the circle, the less late kick you have. So you kind of think of it like a gradient where you go from large square, medium square, small circle, medium circle, large circle. And in that order, you go from most late pace to least late pace. So a lot of times you'll look at this, right, and you'll see this big circle in Q1. Well, that's your cheap speed horse, right? Or
That's
you'll
the
see the
Josh single right
that
there.
that is, yeah, normally yes. But like it's really important to note that it really is a gradient, right? Like there's levels to it because people be like, "Oh, it's a Q1 circle," right? But it's a smaller circle. Well, yes, like that horse might not have the same late kick as a horse that's coming from 10 lengths off of it, but he doesn't have to make up 10 lengths. The other horse has to, right? So you kind of got to think of it that way a little bit. So, kind of looking at this plot that we're looking at, the one horse in this race that we both like, Grand Tiger, is showing up as kind of a little circle in Q1 on the surface to distance plot, which is the plot on the right. And then the standard plot, the one on the left, obviously includes all races. And he's kind of a medium sized circle in there. So, um, like just looking at this plot, it looks like the one's going to get out there on the lead, and it looks like the seven is either going to press or sit off, and is going to try and catch the one. You got the five kind of setting up as a deeper closer, but once again, we're kind of this is just kind of a quick uh quick discussion on how optics works. I've been meaning to reach out to Emily about doing something a little bit more in depth. Now that that Hawthorne, well, I was gonna wait till Hawthorne wrapped up, but now she's doing harness stuff. So we'll see if I can get snag some time from her to do a little bit more in depth video. But
Nice. No, I figured that'd be something that some of our viewers would appreciate, especially since we've got it for every race on the card. So, pretty cool that you were able to do that. Much appreciated. And remember, these are some lightly raced horses, so there's not quite as much data to go off of. But wanted to do that before we went on to the fourth race of the program. And you remember when I mentioned how Josh loves cheap speed, just absolutely loves cheap speed.
Josh
Like
does love cheap speed. Yes, he does.
sends Valentines to them on Valentine's Day,
Maybe a
candygram.
little sweet hello.
Yeah, maybe some of that. So yeah, Josh, tell me about this E8 horse, excuse me, that caused you to immediately stop handicapping the race when you saw it.
Yeah, so the five horse here, and this is I pulled up the plot for this one as well here. Sweet Hello. If you're looking on Brisnet, right, this is the classic E8 horse here. This is what we sometimes like to call the three cherry horse, right? And yeah, if you look on this plot, the standard plot, he is a square in Q1, right? A small square. So it looks to be. I've never met a Q1 square I didn't like. If you look at the surface to distance plot, you do see the four horse seems to be on level with him, horizontally. So it seems like they're about as equally fast early. But if you notice that the five horses is plotted up higher, more vertically, generally that means that hey, these horses are going to duel. The five's going to kind of make a middle move where it's going to show kind of that turn speed. This was a sprint, and probably just kind of head the four. And it seems like they have about equal late kick in this spot. So um, it looks to me like the five just gets loose here and doesn't look back. But I kind of just singled this horse, and I felt like I had to make a stand somewhere in this sequence, and this is where I'm going to make it.
I can't argue too much with that assessment. In addition to all of that, you have Edwin Maldonado on a speed horse, which is one of my favorite angles, especially in lower level claiming races. He is a fantastic gate rider, has been for some time. If you put Edwin Maldonado on a speed horse, you're generally not going to get cheated with the first 16th of a mile out of the gate. He is going to do whatever he can to get his horse in position to do that. And anything close to that three back performance where she won by 17 lengths makes Sweet Hello the one to beat. She's my top selection in here. There was another that I needed to use, though, and that's number 3, Like No Other. Like No Other debuted up here at Golden Gate Fields, broke the maiden in February, going a mile on the synthetic surface. They then saw fit to run her in a couple of pretty tough spots, an optional claiming event at Santa Anita, followed by a $75,000 stakes race going a mile on turf at Golden Gate Fields. She's been sprinting since then, and Josh, I don't think that's her best game. I see the sire Stanford. I see a lemon drop kid mare. There's some stamina in here, and I think she wants to go 2 turns. If Sweet Hello gets loose, I think she's going to be tough. But on the off chance that somebody tries to go with her, I think Like No Other stands to improve more than anybody else in the field just by adding some more distance. And I need to use Like No Other, who's 2-1 on the morning line, but I don't think is going to go off that price. I think she's going to inch up a little bit. I think she's going to be your third choice. I think number 4, Miss Kaline, is going to be your second choice. That one went wire to wire 3 starts back at this route of ground, is another that goes back to 2 turns, but I just thought had a picture perfect trip on that February 12th race. And I can't back her at a short price. If she was supposed to win, it was going to be last time out, where I thought she had a really nice trip and had every chance to gain ground late and just didn't do it. So give me Sweet Hello and Like No Other. Betting against Miss Kaline in this spot, who I do think is going to take some money, but we both agree if Sweet Hello fires, she's going to be pretty tough.
Yep. And we're going to close this out with another maiden race here, going 6 furlongs on the turf. And this is another one where it seems like we kind of agree on one horse here, which is the two Potito here for Carla Gaines and Umberto Rispoli here. Um, this is one that is going to be going first time on the turf.
They
Eh,
all are going first time on the turf. It's a fascinating race in that regard. There is not a single shred of turf form in this field.
Yeah, and honestly, this is more of a hey, like we're gonna hope that some of this speed that this horse has shown, going 5 furlongs, 2 starts back. Um, last time out kind of veered in at the start, checked a bit. So we're hoping that Umberto can get this horse out clean, and maybe the speed will hold a little bit better on the turf. Now I do have a couple concerns in that this is not really well. Grayson does has some success on the turf, but not necessarily first time out. Uh, but Carla Gaines going dirt to turf is 19% here in 54 tries. Her and Umberto are at 43% in 7 starts in the last 2 months. So there are some things to like there connections wise. Um, where we kind of differ is on our other horses. You like the 7 here, Immelman, but I like the 5 Whiskey Rye here for
What a
Tim
shock.
Yaktine and Diego Herrera. And I was drinking beer earlier today, not whiskey,
This
but
League of Legends slump is really getting to you if you're drinking beer. Can we get a wellness check on Mr. Cherry Drank? Anybody out there?
but you know what? This is kind of a bit of a pedigree play for me. When I look at the stats on the dam sire and the sire. We don't have a ton of starts so far for Dad's Cap, but 22% on the turf to start, 19% first time in the turf to start. And then on the bottom side, the dam sire in excess, 15% turf sire, 18% first time turf. One turf winner out of 4 starters, so there is a little bit of success on the turf as well for the dam, and you're getting 15-1. I mean, Diego Herrera is not exactly a known turf jock, but I don't know. I think this is going to be a good switch for this horse. I think this horse is gonna like running on the turf. Connections wise, maybe don't see it, but the pedigree is definitely there, and I think you're gonna get a price to kind of take a shot with that.
The one thing that I will say with Whiskey Rye is I do think that's the Tim Yakteen runner that's better meant in this particular spot. Yakteen also saddles number one High King. I don't like first time starters drawing the rail. It's just a thing for me. And if Yakteen was all that confident in his first time starter, why is he also sending out Whiskey Rye, who was seventh, beaten 17 and a quarter lengths last time out in the debut? If you're going to play a Yak runner, you probably want the bigger price. I'm not particularly entranced by either of them, though. And I think if you want a pedigree play, you go to the seven. That's Immelman. If you've got daily racing form past performances, take a look through it and see which horse has the top last out buyer speed figure. You wind up with a horse that's 10 to 1 on the morning line. So already we're off to a pretty good start. I like the fact that there is steady upward progression in the three starts this horse has run. If you look at Josh's figures, you see a 52, a 62, and a 73. That is meaningful speed figure progression if I've ever seen it. And then you look at that bottom side pedigree and you see those three magical letters IRE. It's all European pedigree. That means it's all turf. Take Charge Indies can turf. I think there's every reason to believe that this is what Immelman wants to do. He's got an experience edge over most of this group. His last out effort wasn't all that bad. He dueled early on through an opening quarter in 21 and 4 over the Del Mar main track, tired to finish fifth, beaten a little more than 3 lengths, but I think showed a fair bit that day. And at his likely price, I think there's plenty to like. I'll use Immelman. I'm also going to use Potito. There is some pedigree that indicates this one still has some room to improve. Also, every chance, given the trip and the likely second out bounce last time out, that he'll improve with the addition of blinkers third time out for a trainer whose horses tend to get better with experience. Is he turf? I don't know. But if Petito steps forward, I think Petito may well be the one to beat. Having said that, I don't feel confident singling that horse. Give me Immelman as well. And if you look at the optics plot, you see that Immelman looks like the main speed. And in a field of inexperienced horses, Josh, how often is being the main speed a very good thing?
It can very much be a good thing. And yeah, looking at the optics plot, the seven does look to be your leader here. Obviously, once again, half the field doesn't have a start, and none of these have a start on the turf.
Details.
But another feature about optics that I love are the notes. And first time out, the notes takers for optics noted turf question mark. So they think that this is definitely a horse that was going to improve with turf. Next time out, you got a trouble plus denotion, and you got an improved denotion on there. So it looks like they really see this horse taking a big step forward, especially on the turf. So that was the main reason why I really like this too in this spot. I'll be honest, you had me looking at the seven. Um, so maybe we might remove that one, go double single, and maybe we'll include an extra horse in this last part.
Well,
But
the other thing too, Josh, is remember, it's not necessarily the lowest takeout wager. There is an early pick four. So if you want to hedge a little bit and go that route and throw that horse into an early pick four, all of a sudden you've got a little bit of coverage in the event that horse winds up being well meant on the turf. But those are the two horses that I had used. And look, I don't have any singles on this ticket. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but there are horses that I'm playing against throughout this sequence that are going to take money. And I think leaving them off of my ticket gives me a little bit of levity and value. And you can see that down the bottom left corner of your screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening, my 50-cent pick five for opening day at Santa Anita is as follows: 1-7 with 1-2-5 with 1-5 with 3-5 with 2-7. That'll cost you $24 for a 50-cent bet.
yep, and I'm like I said, we've kind of talked through this, but I'm 1-4-6 with 2-4-5 with 1-7 with 5 with 2-5. And I'll note, there are a couple of presses that I'll be playing with that, but this would be my widest ticket, and then I would kind of press the legs appropriately from there.
We've got some common ground, man, and that does not happen very often on this show. Usually I'm singling where you're going four deep or vice versa. There exists a scenario where we can both make some money on this opening day early pick five at Santa Anita. First day of what should be a pretty cool meet. I'm excited for it. When Santa Anita is going as well as it can, it is an absolutely wonderful place. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Great Race Place, has in store as we go towards the fall of 2023.
All right, Andrew. Well, that's going to do it for us. What you got going on this week?
Not a whole heck of a lot, at least in my neck of the woods. On Friday night, though, going to my favorite Italian place up here in the Bay Area, Original Joe's in Daly City. Cannot recommend that enough. And that's coming from a New York transplant. So I'm a little bit spoiled as far as Italian food is concerned. But we're going there because it is my fiance's mother's birthday. So very much looking forward to that. And looking forward to gorging on some chicken parm and some cheesy garlic bread. So that's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of fun for yours truly.
Nice. And I don't know what I'm doing either. You know what? It's funny. Maybe I'll make my way up to Hawthorne on Saturday. They've been doing a low roller contest
Oh, nice.
for harness on Saturday nights. I think it's the first 4 or 5 races. So I think a $30 buy-in. So a lot of fun. They've been putting up some pretty decent prizes. So make sure it's on site only. So if you're in the Chicago area, make sure you check it out. You know, worst ways to spend $30 on a weeknight or weekend. And drink prices aren't too terrible there. So maybe have a drink, play some ponies, and or what are they technically? Trotters or pacers? I always forget.
It depends the condition of the race. People lazily call them trotters all the time, but they may very well be pacing. So just be mindful of that designation as you're moving forward. But sounds like a pretty fun night, man.
Yeah. So, but that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at wrong_lead on Twitter.
All the
Andrew's
buttons, all the buttons, all the buttons.
at Andrew Champagne. I'm at Cherry Drank. Yeah, guys, be safe, and we'll catch you guys next week.